Hey guys, welcome back to ESL TV for the Intel Extreme Masters CIS Cologne qualifiers. We're into our next game. Looks like everything has been solved and sorted. So we're going to chop you straight into there because we don't want to take away too much time because we've already seen a lot of picks and bans. You're staring at me really awkward like out of the corner of my eye. I love it.
Just thinking the
Handsome
quality
man.
has improved so much over the years.
Oh yeah, of
You
course.
look back on those videos and they look rubbish. So here we are then into game number 2. If you want to know about the protest, then I can tell you that apparently they agreed to play even though they made the protests, and they can't check whether the protest they made is... I don't know the ins and outs of it, but basically they agreed to play anyway. So, into the bans and picks. If you don't remember from game number 1, it was DWS that got the first game under their belt. And actually the bans, they did ban Irelia, which was where Varessa carried on game 1. Jarvan Lucian banned again. Nar, Syndra, Kha'Zix taken away. That actually leaves that Maokai open. They've since also got Jace in there on the second round of picks. And at least other side, it was a Corki Nami first pick. So that's what we have so far.
Wow. But funny enough, we actually do have 2 champions picked up here on the side, Pandas and Dispandas, that allowed them to win against Rocks a little bit earlier on. So that might actually show we might have a game 3 coming up for this one with the Maokai. Obviously, Old, he was kind of a... the thing is, he wasn't doing bad. I mean, he had, what, the most kills on his team with 5, and the next closest person had 1 or something like that. But he just kind of got completely shut down by Varessa on their Aurelius. So on Maokai, going to have a little bit of an easier time here. And of course, the Jace for Famco in the mid lane, going to have a nice little bit of poke coming into this one. But I wonder if he's going to build tier or if he's going to build a little bit weird and just go full AD up against this Ahri. I guess we'll see. And of course, a lot of champions being hovered over. Viger, Severe, or Sivir. Not necessarily sure exactly what they want to pick up here, but they don't have ability power really. Yeah, Maokai gives a little bit of AP, but they have to be very careful. They're going to be a full AD team here, and if the other team builds, full armor against it, you're kind of screwed.
I think Graves Thresh probably the best option for them at this point. I mean, Nami's obviously gone. And last time they went with, it was a Morgana pick actually for that bottom lane is the counter, so to speak, for Nami. They've gone though for the Thresh and Graves, which gives Demonco a bit of a chance to shine. And it looks like, funnily enough, they've all picked their own champions. It doesn't happen very often that you get through a draft with that kind of thing going on. On the other side, they did, of course, take Ahri for the mid lane for up against Jace and Nocturne in the jungle there. So just trying to basically dive onto Jace as much as they possibly can from this. What will they finish off then in the top lane with against this Maokai, who was banned out in game number 1? Hovering over Jax right now for Varessa, and that's another champion that if you get ahead on, he's going to be such a pain to deal with later on. And
the thing is, they have, obviously, the Ahri and the Nocturne, so it's kind of like, all right, well, we want to dive someone under a turret. We want to kind of just charm them out and go for a quick kill onto them. So Jax would definitely facilitate that, offering the Counter-Strike, and obviously the ability to get out really quick if he needs to. Aatrox kind of does the same thing, obviously, with his leap and has his passive, so he can obviously come back alive yet again. But we can see a Maokai versus Aatrox. So we have sustain versus sustain, but Maokai's going to get very tanky, and I feel like Maokai at least could easily pick up kills on Aatrox if he's not careful enough here.
Well, yeah, if Elise comes in and is able to, actually land cocoons there, gonna be difficult, I think. Varessa already showed us in game number 1 that he's a big carry force, has a potential to carry for their team. One thing, though, that last game actually started out pretty decently for Pandas in Dispandas. I still can't get my head around that name, to be honest. I mean, it started out nicely for them. There was a good bit of farm. They had a lead in a couple of lanes, and it just slipped away from them there. So, interested to see whether that can be changed this time around. Maybe Old Hero having a bit more of a confident pick for himself. Obviously playing Malphite in that last game, and just having real troubles with Irelia.
And he got first blood, actually, too, up against Torren, who was kind of disconnected on the Twitch. So, obviously, see how it's going to work out this time. I don't know. Are we going to go to a break, or are we going to continue for this 3 minutes? Because I don't think we actually discussed this beforehand.
I think we can talk through 3 minutes.
All right.
I think
just checking.
we've become
our producer's happy.
averse to talking for 3 minutes. We We could have talked through those like 40 minutes that we had earlier on. Instead, we showed old videos of
A fart.
Yeah, back in, I think it was EPS finals.
Something like that. It was a long time ago.
It was quite a while ago. As you may have noticed by the quality of the video, I saw
Dude, I
Twitch
handmade
chats
those
like,
myself.
What is going on here? Yeah, no one really understood, I think, what the point with that one was. But, you know, just something rather than looking at one screen and basically losing your mind out of boredom. But guys, we should also mention, if you just joined us, this, of course, the semi-finals of the ESL, of the Intel Extreme Masters CIS qualifier for Intel Extreme Masters Cologne. We already have Moscow 5 waiting in the final for whoever wins this game. Maybe it's only going to take one more. Maybe we'll see a victory here in game number 2. Maybe we'll end up going to game number 3. And that's the thing about these kind of long breaks. It can throw you off your momentum and make you lose concentration. Or it could have also just given them a much-needed break after, you know, playing the best of 3 earlier on today as well. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I think, actually, no, both teams didn't have a 2-0. That was only the side of Pandas and Dispendas that had a 2-0. Dolphins had more of a harder route going 2-1. But, I mean, we're going to see, obviously, Fnatic is one of the teams that's invited through into Extreme Masters Cologne, and we're going to see what other teams are going to be joining them. But I'm trying to look at the comps here, I'm just still really, I'm not confused, I'm just wondering, like, when it comes to early game, who's going to be stronger? And I'm thinking, obviously, Corki's going to be really strong early. Ari at the Charm can be very deadly, and not to mention Nocturne to get 6. So they do have a good, really dive focus kind of composition with the Nocturne and the Aatrox, but I feel like, you know, Olds, who did go 5-1, or not 5-1, he had 5 kills last game leading his team. If he gets going on Maokai, you can't really kill the tree. Like, it's almost impossible. He's just so damn tanky. And on their side, they have so much poke out of the Graves who can, the Buckshot does a little decent amount, but so does his ultimate. And of course, you have the Jace paired in. So they have a nice engage. If you land a hook, you're going to be able to kill someone with followed up by Cocoon. So I'm really curious to see if they can, you know, pull it back and take it to a game number 3. And then the break, you know, it's so funny because, you know, across, the years you've been doing this, you've seen teams who have breaks and, you know, say they're up 1-0 in a best of 3, they have this long hour break, and then they just crumble because of, like, the boredom, the waiting, the frustration. I wonder how these teams are going to handle it because, you know, obviously they play in the Gopher series quite a bit, so they are used to kind of these extended hours of playing. But with what's at stake here, I mean, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if you didn't hear, if you weren't aware that protest was made, basically some allegations of account sharing and stuff, which can't be proved right now, could be proved maybe later down the line when, you know, people get to have a bit more time to look at that. But that could also make you just say, okay, you just made a protest against us. It's not even fair. We're going to crush you into the ground for even suggesting such things. I don't know if that's how they're going to feel, but we're going to find out here because we are going to be loading shortly into our second game, and the question is, can DWS do it in 2? Aatrox, for me, is not going to be able to carry the game like Irelia did in that last game for Varessa. Yeah,
100%. I mean, not going to be as tanky, not going to have as much damage, and, I mean, yeah, he does have like, his ability to get in and a nice little knock-up in there, but I guess their composition is more based around their whole team doing better. I mean, the Ari, like, every game you ever see Ari, she either gets really fed and does extremely well, or she just kind of does nothing. There's never, like, for me, this mid-game with her. I feel like it could work out really well for them, and it looks like we have finally started this game up here, so let me just fix a couple of audios. I don't know why it does this. Colorblind, it just turns off.
I don't know. I think that's a bug.
It doesn't like colorblind people.
Yeah. Yeah, it keeps the colors of the towers and everything on the minimap, but apparently not the actual scoreboard. So, let us then get into game number 2 here. Scoreline is, of course, 1-0 in favor of DWS, also known as the Dolphins of Wall Street, up against Pandas in Dispandas. PID is what I'm going to be calling them because the rest is just a big mouthful. Let's see, though, how this early game is going to go. Whether we're going to see anything funky at level 1, but more importantly and more interestingly as well, or maybe not more interestingly, but is the lane swaps. Whether we're going to see either side looking for that lane swap. It was actually PID that went for the lane swap in game number 2.
Oh, look at this.
So we'll see. They're actually... Nami's coming around here. 4 men already in that side brush. And Jace just trying to bait this one out. If Smurf goes one step too far, he's going to get a hook to the face.
And they see him right now. It looks like they're not going to go in for it just yet. They could have the Cocoon to follow it up with, so they do with the potential to burst him. I think the one thing they don't have is, though, vision of where everyone else is. Even Ari off to the side. Smurf, he's going to walk right into Thresh. The hook going to land here. And this should most certainly be a kill here. He's going to have the flash if he wants to use it. He will get a little bit of distance. And a little bit surprised to see Fleet not go for his Cocoon level 1. Obviously, it kind of sets you really far behind.
Yeah.
But that first blood can be so damn deadly for you. So either way, they're going to back away. They will get a ward on the blue buff. They have a ward on their own blue buff as well. What happened?
Jace just threw a
Q?
A Q.
Okay.
Into him, which I just forgot the name of. Shock Blast, of course. Throwing that Shock Blast out there just do a little bit more damage. And that's a funny thing about that start. If you look at the minimap, look at the amount of wards that have come down. All 5 wards out for the red side. And not one of them spotted that little push there into the side bush. But, you know, flash down on the support could be an important factor, especially when you're up against the Thresh in that bottom lane. If you can land another good hook, then you could be in trouble. Meanwhile, jungles, of course, getting on their paths here. At least going to be soloing off that blue. And it was a red start side start for Nocturne up on the top side. He's going to obviously want to hit level 6 as fast as he possibly can so that he's got that paranoia.
Yeah, very true. And I'm really curious about something is that PID, they saw the ward that was down right up here at the blue buff put down by DWS. So they know they were seen doing blue. They had a ward on the blue buff of the opponents without having a ward at the red buff, so they know they're going to be going towards blue second. And I was maybe expecting Fleet to go for a little bit of counter jungling there. But either way, just going to stick to a normal path. And like I said before, this bottom lane, you know, we had, what was it? Tauren had a lead. Actually, no, he was behind the beginning. And then he came up ahead in the CS once we had the lane swap come in with Easy coming down from the top side. So I wonder if he's going to have as easy time this time currently, or if it's going to be a little bit more difficult.
One thing that seems to be a recurring theme here is that Varessa is absolutely hammering Old Hero in that top lane. He forced him actually out of lane briefly here, but obviously munching through his pots there. We'll see how long he can actually stay in this top lane, because Varessa, you know, you've got a bit more survivability with that Bloodwell, the passive of Aatrox, which brings you back to life in case you do end up going down, as we are going to see in the mid lane actually Exhaust going here on towards Abdu, but he's into the minion line, which means the Cocoon can't connect onto him and he'll be able to get away. Did have to use a flash for that though.
Yeah, a little bit unfortunate. It was a nice dodge by the Charm, actually, or by Fleet to actually go over it with the Repel, but now Funko getting a little bit low here. Has to be very careful though. The flashes come out. The Flash Cocoon comes out actually out of Fleet. Picks up first blood as well. Looking for Lasagna. Has the red buff, but he gets feared away. Famco, you better be careful here, Lasagna. He won't flash, and he should be able to skate this one. But either way, first blood again. 2 games straight coming in for PID.
Yeah, and that's a good start that they're really looking for in this one. I mean, that top lane not particularly going all that wedge for them. Old Hero actually stuck right underneath his tower, and Varessa not having any problems with just smashing away. Again, obviously the lifesteal from his W from the blood price.
Not gonna lie, quick shots rubbed off on you. He has.
Blood. Forgot the other. Thirst, exactly. Thirst gives you back. Price, of course, deals extra bonus damage on every 3rd attack. So, yeah, Blood. Thirst, giving him the healing in there. And actually, he's decided to recall. He's going to come back in there with a Vamp Scepter as well. So, even more lifesteal for him. The second Doran's Ring was actually picked up for Maokai, which actually is going to set him a little bit behind there on getting that Rod of Ages out as fast as possible. Now, a lot of people with that 400 and whatever gold would go in there for the health crystal, as Abdu here going to be caught out, gets hammered back into the middle of his lane, and Fomco is able to pick up the 2nd kill for PID, his first of the game. He's already got that tier going as well. That's only going to help him out. We'll start to stretch a CS lead in that lane.
Oh, this is getting really unfortunate for Dolphins of Wall Street. I mean, the thing is, the tier first buy, it's kind of like you're investing. Oh, wow, even a kill bottom lane. So I ended up missing one here as they do pick up the kill on the Smurfs. So now it's a 3-0 lead here in favor of Pandas and Dispandas. But, you know, the tier, it's like an 800 gold drop. You pretty much invest it into pretty much nothing in the beginning because you don't get really any extra stats off of it. But to allow him to poke a little bit more, and these 2 kills, or the kills he's gotten and the assists, is going to allow him to kind of facilitate past that weak point that you do have. You mentioned Maokai a little bit earlier on, going for the second Doran's Ring. I think he's just trying to survive his lane a little bit more. It's really fortunate, like you see, for far behind his Catalyst and behind the tier. But now he's just kind of not even farming. It's 41 to 26. It's falling even further behind here. And it's looking like we might potentially see a game number 3.
Well, it's early to call it that way, as we are going to have, sadly, another pause in this one. But that allows us to take a bit of an overview of the game and see exactly how things are going down. So this top lane, we already talked about it quite a lot, but just to give you the numbers there, 45 to 26 CS in favor of Varessa on Aatrox. Was brilliant in game number 1, started off strongly here in game 2 as well. From the jungle, of course, we're expecting less of Lasagna. Less Lasagna is not a good thing. More Lasagna is definitely a good thing. But we'll see him coming into lane later on once he hits that level 6 mark and has his ultimate available to dive halfway across the map. Mid lane, we did see the 2 deaths for Abdu. Not the start that you're looking for with the Ahri. Allowed a kill for Jace and a kill for Elise. Between the AD carries, it's actually Easy that's got off to the good start this time around once again. Obviously, because the fact that Smurf used his flash at level 1 meant that they have to be a little bit more passive in that lane as well. Can obviously then support this Corki less in what he does, but there's also a lot of burst, let's be honest, that comes out from Graves.
Not to mention tankiness just from his passive alone, too. And I just kind of realized, Abdu, that's not the man who was playing mid last game.
Really?
Yeah, that's someone else.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure. I think you might be able to check a little bit, but I'm pretty sure we didn't have him last game. I don't remember ever saying his name. So that's actually interesting. So maybe the little protest that did come in did force somewhat of a change. But we'll see. Obviously, he's having a tough game here. 0-2 so far. He's behind in CS as well. And well, it's going to be a little unfortunate for him to kind of get back into this one, especially since he'll be forced to build. Actually, it looks like he's going to go for his DFG as his first buy, so maybe he's going to stick to that kind of normal route that he goes.
Trying to actually figure out who it was.
I should stick on camera.
Yeah, you should probably
see, Nicholas
watch
wasn't there either.
Game.
That wasn't him.
No, but that was whoever it was that doesn't apparently, that was playing under a different name. Actually, there's a screenshot, so I'll find that. You can concentrate on the game.
Okay, I will here. All right, so meantime, Famco extending his lead, 40-24 CS. The tier stacking up nicely. Not to mention this blue buff coming in very soon. Fleet, though, committing a lot of time to actually going in for this mid lane gank and trying to get Famco a little bit further ahead, which is kind of funny. I mean, the thing is, he needs to help his top lane. And we saw last game just how unfortunate it was for Old every single time here. But Ressa going in, does get the knock up, does force a flash out of Old as he uses his own ultimate there. But either way, you know, we talk about one person carrying the game. Yeah, it's 3-0 lead. Yeah, it's 1,400 gold deficit for them. But Varessa, already 65 tickets in, is honestly doing a fantastic job.
His bottom lane as well, Smurf in a lot of trouble. We'll see if Easy can finish off. Actually flashed, he went underneath the tower there, but I don't think Tauren has got the damage. There's a phosphorus bomb. One more auto attack will be enough, and that will end in a 1-for-1. It leaves Graves at 2-1-0. He gets to go home, pick up a BF sword. However, it did mean that they, of course, lost him quickly afterwards and gave Tauren his first kill of the game. It was actually Abdu that played in that last game. So, yeah, that played Orianna.
Huh.
So, yeah,
not bad.
1-0 lead overall in the best of 3 for DWS, the Dolphins of Wall Street. This start is definitely not what they would have been looking for, I'm sure. A 4-1 lead for PID with an 1,100 gold lead there or thereabouts. This top lane still remains a bit of a sticking point for them, though. Other lanes are all pretty decent for them. In fact, mid lane has got a good old lead as Old Hero actually going in onto Varessa here. Might be able to pop the passive out of him. See, the problem is with a Vamp Scepter in there and the regen that he gets from his W, he's going to be back up to full health before he knows what's happened. Yeah,
exactly. And you can see Oldie's out of mana right now, so he can't really spam spells. He can't really heal it up from his passive either. So honestly, it's going to be very tough for him. As the dive, you're going to be coming in. Old Hero's going to get burst down on a turret, and Varessa looks like he will keep his passive. No! Last turret hit will proc it. But either way, he's picked up a kill. He's getting them back in the game. As you can see, it's now 2-4 in favor of Pandas and Dispandas at 9 minutes. But they're starting to really get back into this. Nocturne now, Lasagna looking for a gank bottom side, and he obviously has that ultimate online. He could potentially get into that Graves, who has no flash now. It's just a matter of time to see if they can bait them in.
Maybe have to land a bubble because of the way that they're positioned, though, in this lane. Already on, or already pushed enough onto their side of the map. Can get away pretty quickly, and we see that Nocturne actually starts to back away from that. So seems like they don't really fancy this early aggression. Meanwhile, Abdu's been forced to constantly push back and pick up his own Wraith camp because of how far he's fallen behind. Although, you know, that Jace only with the tier and a longsword in there, so not actually gone home to really spend much of that damage, but you can see Jace just hits like a truck at this point.
Yeah, he's sitting on 2,000 gold to buy with, so he could finish his Manamune if he wants to. And when he does go back and does go back to base, buys up and comes to lane, Aptu really has no chance. He's got to land those charms. That's going to be the only thing that's really going to save him besides that ultimate, which he needs to escape potential ganks from coming in. But now, we have Fleet coming in the bottom side, nowhere to spot him out. Nocturne coming in middle, though. Look for the kill on the Famco. The Fear will land. And finally, Aptu gets back in the game, picks up 1 kill, and finally does help him out as he secures the blue buff as well. It's a fight coming down bottom lane as well.
Yeah, Fleetic actually trying to get in there, but he was, again, a little bit too late. I think it was a little bit more reactionary than planned, to be honest. He was moving on that bottom side, ended up landing a hook there, and didn't quite get anything out of them. No summoner spells actually burnt from that bottom lane, but again, it was all about that mid lane. We see finally a Nocturne gank, the first paranoia that we see of this matchup, and gives them their kill, a much-needed kill, really, in that middle lane. However, that was Jace's chance to actually shop up. Finished off his random. We've got that double longsword in there now, as well as Tauren going aggressive on this bottom lane. Once again, we do see Nocturne coming in. Tauren actually missing there on one of his ultimate missiles, and they were able to take the Lantern off to relative freedom.
And that Fleet even coming back down towards the bottom, so they know that Tauren doesn't have that much HP, so they could potentially go for a Dragon here as Aptu is back at base, but instead, gonna back away. And this is that whole dive comp we were talking about with Lasagna going in middle with Aptu, is that you're not going to escape an Ahri with 3 ult charges. You're not going to escape a Nocturne who can just ult into you unless you do have a flash escape, which even then it didn't save Famco's life. So then you have to worry about, will Lasagna go top lane to help out Vressa? And he has a 30 CS lead. It's growing over time here. He has a Blade of the Rune King on the way. Ult Hero really doesn't have a chance here to 1v1 Vressa anytime soon. So he can focus on bottom, which they were losing the lane. Now Tauren, he's catching up in CS. He's catching up a little bit in kills. And in terms of overall goal, he's only down 400. And honestly, this Nocturne, it's starting to work out really well here. But look at this, Famco heading up towards the top side, trying to stop Vressa from getting super farm like he was last game. And this could be very bad for Vressa. He has Flash. He has Teleport. But he doesn't have passive.
He's kind of baited himself into this one, oddly enough. He actually went down the river because Ahri will have said he's not actually there. And there is Jace actually showing himself. The question is if that Twisted Advance will be enough. Have they got the damage? Exhaust is down. Will they actually try and dive him here? He's trying to get the time before his passive comes back up, but wasn't quite quick enough. Meanwhile, Aptu using his ultimate there and Ignite use, trying to take down Fleetic. That didn't work out for him. However, will they be able to get a Dragon? I feel like this is a bit of a risky one. Dimonco trying to force them back. The Dragon down to half HP. Lasagna does have a smite, but here comes Fleetic over the top. Can he get it? No, he can't. He gets away with the smite pickup, and Lasagna also gets away with his life. That was close, though.
That was a good burst try by Easy as well, trying to throw in that ultimate to kind of get someone low, maybe get the Dragon at last second. But either way, that is going to be a Dragon picked up, and now we're going to have Smirk get caught on the bottom side, flashes over the wall. The Ignite should be enough to take away, and Dimonco will pick up that kill here. So 6-3 now at 13 minutes. Dragon for 1 death. Not that bad of a trade here for the sign of Pandas and Dispandas.
Why would you try and recall there? That really doesn't make much sense to me. You've got no vision over the side. You stood basically halfway into the river in that area, and just a bit of a strange decision. They actually pinged where he died afterwards, and I have a feeling that maybe his teammates were saying somewhat the same. There's a hook landing onto Tauren underneath the tower as well. And that'll be an easy finish. Lasagna, though, does come down, but it's a double kill in the end for Easy. The AD carry is getting fed here. 4-1-1 now is Easy.
What was the hope of that? Lasagna, he was waiting to ultimate in to save Tauren's life, but it's like Tauren up against 3 people. You have the burst out of Graves, who already has a BF sword and a pickaxe. Almost has Infinity Edge. Well, he will have it when he goes back. I feel like he just baited his teammate to his death, and even himself in that one. There was no point. He should have just backed away. He would have been fine.
Well, this top lane, Vressa continues to push, but you can see now that with a blasting wand finally in there for Old Hero, he actually is now doing some damage, which is going to make Vressa maybe think twice. He himself has that Blade of the Ruined King, so he's actually going to go for things here. There's ultimate pop by Vressa. Has he got the damage? There's a flash away. Bloodwell is back up for Vressa, but I think he's quite content with just forcing him out of the lane. He'll be able to take that turret. Middle tower in the meantime taking a bit of a beating as well, but I think Old Hero and that top outer turret is done for now.
I mean, Vressa didn't use his blade there. I was expecting him to maybe try to go for the kill, but he kept it up for the second time around. Picks up the turret nonetheless. 1-2 here in favor of Pandas and Dispandas currently. And Aptu still going in towards that DFG. I'm a little bit worried, though, because he's already... he's not that far behind as I thought he was anymore since that kill that we had happen with Lasagna coming in. But we see Corki now, building up towards his Triforce. Oh.
There is Varessa. He's kind of caught out of position right now, and his Bloodwell will bring him back up, but will he get away? Jumps over the wall. Fomko actually flashing for it, and will secure with that his third of the game. Manimoon Brutalizer. There's a lot of damage starting to stack up, and we've seen time and time again what happens with a Jace. The poke later on is just immense. Gonna be hard to really survive trying to defend underneath turrets.
You already see the damage he's doing to Aptu right there. It took him down to about half HP off of one QE combo. But, you know, if we're going to see DWS ever try to counter that or prevent him from getting these this poke potential, the siege potentials, they need to deny these blues. And yet, well, you see Varessa go over there. He kind of got caught out, got taken down. Lasagna doesn't really have the tankiness to survive any sort of push into there. And honestly, this is becoming a really big snowball for the side of PID. They have a 3-1 Jace, a 4-1 Graves, has Infinity Edge, and Zeal done. Not to mention 3 turrets to 1 now. I mean, they didn't get Dragon, but they're still ahead by 2 turrets. They're still ahead by 6 kills. So they're still up about a good 3,000 gold.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit hard for them to actually come back from this one at this stage, but I guess we could say that not all hope is lost.
They have potential. They definitely do. I mean, 1 charm, 1 bubble, like that's you're probably going to kill someone easily in that kind of time span, unless it's Maokai. You know, who can get very tanky.
And yeah, it has to be basically burst down Jace, burst down Graves, and hope that you can actually go through. And especially with DFG, Ari as well, that could definitely happen for them if he's able to get onto the right man. But for now, that's not really worked out for them. 1-2-0 from his lane. About 30 CS behind that of Fomko so far. We are going to have another Dragon. Second one of the game coming up in just under 2 minutes' time. And we can already see that Fomko recalling here, which means he's going to come back into lane with a Ghost Blade.
As you do when you have so much ridiculous gold. But one thing that's you know, worrying to me is the fact that Varessa, he's 60 CS ahead in the top lane, and it took 3 people to kill him in the enemy jungle there. So if he continues to shove this top lane over and over again, you know, old hero can't really do much against him. Like once he builds up an item, like he's at 800 gold now, if he builds it towards a Hydra or something like that, like 1 more damage item, then it's going to take at least 2 people to kill him. And if he keeps split pushing like this, if he keeps being a nuisance like he was last game on Aurelia, building up a giant CS lead, then honestly, you know, PID won't really have much of a response for him. It's going to become really hard to really take him down or really even kind of lock him down long enough to pick up someone without anyone else split pushing against you.
Well, let's see how that one all works out. I can take a quick look, actually, at towers, because that's another thing that's really working in their favor. All 3 outer turrets have gone down. Gives them not just, obviously, the extra gold there, but a chance to move a little more freely across the map. They've actually got some decent wards down on the bottom side. Not really up on the top side, but chances 17 minutes in of a team that's behind, rushing in for the Baron and be able to do anything but just die on it, basically, or 0. They are waiting. You can see already 4 men down towards that Dragon, as we saw a flash there away, or a flash in, really, from Demonko trying to get the hook, and then the flash from Abdu. He's got no ultimate either. I don't think that'll be quite ready for him as this Dragon starts to come into play. Both top laners have teleport here. That's worth noting. As we see PID trying to set up a bit of a trap, trying to lure someone in.
They can do Baron.
They're doing Baron.
They can do it. They have a Blade of the Ring on Aatrox. I mean, I don't think Nocturne's tanky enough for this, but he built damage, so they could probably 2-man trade it off. They could 3-man with Nami even coming in. No one's even paying attention. So they got the Dragon last time, and I think they realized that they lost complete vision control around it this time. So I want to go straight for the Baron with 4 men. And you know what? Well, they're going to get
now they're not getting it.
The gig's up. They know what's happening, and they're going to back away from this one. Honestly, a godsend coming in for a PID right there. That could have been dangerous, and you called it perfectly. The chance of them being able to do anything except die at Baron, well, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, they were fortunate that they weren't closer there, because they could have just completely overruled them and just taken them not only out, but picked up a Baron as they went as well. And we see their Shock Blast again, carving the damage out of DWS, and that means an inner turret. And this game's such a contrast to game number. Well, it's not that much of a contrast. Actually, what has happened is just flipped over in a way. That we now see a 3-1-1 Jace, a 4-1-1 Graves, who's going to have himself Static Shiv on top of his Infinity Edge here in just a second when he actually goes home to finish that off.
we just saw so much desperation in DWS. I think they realized that this game...
They might 20-minute surrender it, to be honest.
I mean, the only reason to go for a Baron like that when you're not actually tanky enough to deal with it, I mean, now with the Warden's Mail, they might have been. If Lasagna built tanky, they actually probably could have two-manned it pretty easily. Or if you built Blade of the Ring King, the two-man Blade could have been enough. But it's just kind of like, well, let's just go for something really risky right now because we know we're really far behind. You point out the Vision bottom and a little bit earlier on coming out of PID, completely controlling it, controlling the buff, controlling everything around it, which gave him the Dragon. Not to mention now with that failed Baron attempt, it gave him another turret. So now 33,000 gold to the 28.5. This game's really getting out of hand here. And like you said, it's complete opposite. Well, it's the same thing but turned around for these two teams.
I'll see if they can keep their foot down, though. And that's what you always have to ponder. You know, in a best of 3, is it worth surrendering a game that you quite clearly miles behind and the chances of coming back in are pretty slim? Do you just surrender it, get it out of the way, or do you actually, you know, keep going with the hope that the enemy might make a mistake in there, one that costs them the game, or at least use that time to talk about what you're going to be doing in the 3rd and final game? Because, you know, the Intel Extreme Masters, this is a chance for one of these Russian teams to actually show what they're made of, show what they can actually do against the top teams in Europe, as Fomco and Varesa going to go up against each other. That's a flash away from Varesa. He's going to get his blood well popped. We see Fomco already moving off. I'm not sure that he's going to be able to escape. It's Easy that picks up another kill, goes 5-1-1, and now they're going to march on to the inner turret in the top lane, bottom lane, sorry. In
the meantime, we saw Lasagna go straight in onto Old here with the help of Opto, and it was able to pick up a kill. He got him, yeah, very low on HP, but it wasn't enough in the end. And it's just going to cost him another turret here. So honestly, you brought the question before of, you know, will they just surrender? Or are they going to hope for a mistake? You know, I think it's a double-edged sword. At some point in the game, when you're losing like this badly, it can mentally just put you down for the next one. Morale for your team can be completely shot. So you kind of just have to give it up and just kind of look like, oh, you know, we know what we did wrong. Let's just move on to the next one without too much time. And honestly, I don't know what happened this break, but PID are playing fantastic. They're making smart calls. You know, even though Old Hero had a tough time at the top lane, he's still down, what, 50 CS? He's still there in the fights when they need him. He's still helping out. He's still continuing to farm up. And he's still being a really big threat here on this Maokai.
Yeah, and he's Maokai at the end of the day. I mean, he's got that Rod of Ages, going to have a Frozen Heart coming in at some point, and he's just going to be ridiculously tanky. It means that this Aatrox probably not going to be able to do too much to him in the end of it. That Ghost play, there's a pickaxe now added in as well for Fomco. Are they thinking about Baron? I mean, for me, there's no reason whatsoever to go to Baron.
Completely agree.
You don't need the extra that Baron's going to give you in, you know, return for the risk of messing up that Baron play. I actually saw a game in the ESL Euro Series the other night that basically had 2 massive Baron throws, one after each other in the same game.
Wow.
You just can't. There's just no reason to do that. I mean, Jace has now got a Last Whisper in there. If they can guarantee themselves a Baron through what they can see on the map, then yeah, sure, go for it. But if there's any risk involved, it's not worth it.
Yeah, it's not even high risk, high reward. It's just high risk potential to lose the game. Kind of. I mean, that doesn't really rhyme or anything, but you know what? You get Baron when you're already winning. You don't really need that to finish the game when you have poke from a Jace who's 3-1 and who has 218 CS. It's just not worth it. It's called the new magnet for a reason, or at least Divers coined it as that not too long ago. But either way, you know, 23 minutes in, they're not really struggling for their next move, but I feel like, again, a team who has to depend on Baron to finish a game like this isn't really, you know, a top-tier team. Like, you know, if you think of the Fanatics, you think of any of the Korean teams, you know, they won't need a Baron to finish off a game like this because they know how to complete it when they already have such a big lead.
Oh, there's a hook coming out. Doesn't quite land onto Abdu. Meanwhile, Varesa is trying to have a go onto Old Hero down in this bottom lane. This is where it gets interesting. As you see that Abdu able with a twisted advance and a bit of damage will just fend him off from under the tower. There's another hook coming out from Demonco. Again, doesn't quite connect as a shock blast comes through. Actually, a good bubble comes in and they've managed to finish off Graves, and this is what we were talking about. If they land a good charm, land a good bubble, maybe they can get this one going. There's a tidal wave coming in. Old Hero at the back actually falling pretty low, but they're trying to get down Graves. Jace. They've got down Jace as well. They should keep chasing here. They've got 2 men incredibly low. Torum will get one. Can they finish off Old Hero as well? It'll be slowed down. There's a hook coming in, which only really gives Thresher's position away. This could well be an ace, and they might then think about going to Baron.
Oh, what are they doing? Lasagna's very low on HP. Demonko trying to stick around, trying to buy a little bit of time. They're already very low on HP, but Resta pop an ultimate. You'll be able to heal up a little bit more here with the help of this. And there should be a Baron after they completely failed it earlier on, going to the side of DWS. And you pointed out perfectly, they were looking for that one mistake, and that was it. The charm landing onto the key target gets him a delayed ace, gets him a Baron buff, and honestly gets him completely back in the game here. They're going to be almost tied up at gold now, 25 minutes in.
Well, Graves does come around, throws the ulti, and almost killing Smurf off. But maybe you'll get Varessa. No, because he can just jump away.
Wow.
Taunting him a little bit as he goes. So Baron picked up then, and look at the gold. Look at that gold swing that's just happened after the ace and the Baron. 1,500 is all that separates these two teams. Really nothing now at this stage. This Dragon will obviously help things out for PID, but they're going to be wondering what the hell just happened to them. The TP in from Maokai far too close to the tower, took a lot of damage before they could really do anything. But the main reason is that they lost Graves so early on. The charm landed, they just followed through with everything that they had, and then they get the ace afterwards. The question now is, can they do that again?
I'll have to be careful here because Arya might even get caught out here. The hook gonna land, Flea gonna land the cocoon as well, and now catching up person, they're gonna do the exact same thing that happened to them. Resta should be able to flash away and escape to safety. This does give them a man advantage. This does give them the ability to push potentially for a turret now. And, you know, it's kind of a Game of Thrones syndrome here between these two teams. It's just really a lot of desperation plays, but a lot of plays that are really working out for them. I
mean, you've just managed to catch the opposition out. Why are you running through your jungle where you have no vision? Obviously, they didn't have timing for Dragon, or maybe they didn't. That's why he even wanted to go down there to check that. But no vision means don't go there. Like that ace that they just picked themselves up with the Baron afterwards, that's the chance that they had to come back into this game. And any little mistake, PID could just use it to really close out, because there's not much left on the map, actually, for them to kill off. If they get it 3 kills, let's say, then they should be able to actually siege down these turrets with the likes of Jace in there.
Yeah, and on the other side of that coin, you have the side of Dolphins of Wall Street. If they do pick up a couple of kills and they push, they have so many turrets to take. Like, the goal difference that they have is about 4K right now, but with 4 turrets going down to even things up in terms of turrets, that whole lead disappears. So they have a lot of global gold they can pick up right now at this point if they are able to push in. They have the Baron buff still on 4 people. They haven't been able to make too much use out of it until now. But again, when it comes to wave clear, you have Graves with Buckshot, you have Jace, you have Maokai. It's going to be really hard to go for any damage onto this turret unless you're going to commit for a fight under it.
Well, with Nocturne, Ahri, Aatrox, that's a pretty decent dive lineup. But you've got to pick out the right turret. They get that, the right target. They get the outer turret while they're there. There's still the bottom outer turret for them to take as well, to try and level up this gold. And the turret counts, but for now it seems to be a little wary, and rightly so. No wards, as I said before, don't go in there. We already saw Abdu being caught out because of that.
Both teams have such a great catch team as well. You have the hook on one side with Cocoon, even a Twisted Advance. On the other, you have the Charm mixed in with the Bubble. Like, if either team catches you out, you're going to lose someone, even at this point, the most tankiest man of your team. But it's just kind of a little bit of standoff here. Even with that Baron buff, what have Dolphins even accomplished? They got 1 turret, and that's it so far. I mean, it's not bad because you're able to, come back from such, what was it, about 8,000 gold deficit to picking up 5 kills, to picking up a Baron, to picking up a turret. So you're getting back in the game, you're getting some momentum going, and you're building up these items. But I think it's just a matter of time. When that next Baron comes up, that's when you see the next bit of action breakdown. Maybe even at the Dragon if it comes up early enough.
Well, for now they were trying to close in onto Varessa in the top lane. Varessa had already finished off that minion wave and backed away. And you rightly point out, it's just about farming up at this stage now, getting as much gold as you can until the next time that they're forced to butt heads. Which PID, pretty much rocking and ruling this game until that last fight where they lost the Jace almost instantly thanks to a great charm coming out from Abdu. They just have to do that again. And probably twice as well if they're to realistically win this game, because of the amount of turrets that are still up after almost 30 minutes of the game. We were talking about, is it better to surrender? Is it better to stick things out and see if your team or see if your opponents make a mistake? And That's what they decided to do, stay in here despite going for that real desperation Baron attempt in the earlier stages. They're still holding on to this game.
It's a really good point. You know, if you think about most teams who get to this kind of stage of the game where they're down, let's just say 10,000 gold, most teams do kind of just give up. And you can't be one of those teams. You can always have that one chance of, COG, EU versus Gambit coming back from a huge deficit to win the game. Like, you can always have those moments, and if you don't practice being in that situation, then you don't really have a huge hope of doing that. But right now, we do have Torm, who just picked up his Infinity Edge. They fed a lot of farm to him recently after all that action happening in the top lane without, past the Baron as well. They're trying to get him fed. They're trying to get him to be more of a threat in this game. And with that eye edge being done, he's going to be just that here. And at perfect time, too, because you have a minute on Dragon. You have a minute 30 on Baron.
Bottom lane, Varessa has just been completely baited in here. And he's going to go down, not going to be able to escape Formco. And, yeah, he basically thought that Old Hero was there all alone. And in the end, decided he was going to go for the fight. Formco was just around the corner. And as he jumped over the top, actually landed a shock blast in just as he landed. And he was already down to half HP before he could say or do anything about it. So, these little kills here and there. We saw Abdu called out earlier. We've seen Varessa now called out. Those are the kind of things that will completely diminish the chances that you have to hold in on these games.
I'm trying to remember. Who got the last Dragon? I want to say it was PID. So I want to say that they had the timer on it.
It was PID. It was basically they exchanged it.
Oh, yeah, for the Baron thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm wondering, like, with that kill that they just got on Varessa, why aren't they putting down wards everywhere around Dragon to get set up for it? Or why are they not doing that around Baron when they have a man advantage? Just move out together, and you're going to get the vision control. And, I mean, yeah, they do have a pink ward. They do have another ward, in the bush next to it. But that's not enough coverage to make sure you can go for a very safe Dragon here. As Damonko has finally arrived and will be able to get the wards down. And Dragon is now up here, and it looks like it's not even going to be contested, so it should be going over the side of PID here. Very easy. Extend their lead yet again to about 5K. But it comes down, again, to that one charm, that one hook, that one bubble, that one twisted advance or cocoon that can really turn this game around here. We see both teams have the damage easily to burst anyone down. Just about a matter of getting that position and getting into that situation.
I feel like there might be a Baron fight incoming. And while they don't need it, they still need to get some wards down.
Yeah.
I actually can't see. They don't have a single ward on the Baron itself, so that's definitely something that they need to change. Can't let one be snuck away from them.
It's not like they don't have a timer either. You had, was it Damonko die next to it, and then Easy even just kind of walked in right after the fact?
Yeah. Varessa actually split pushing here. We'll be able to get down one more turret.
He has TP, though. Like, this is the threat. He can split push so much better than Old Heroes can. So if he just continues to push his bomb side and then just teleport into the fight, well, you already do see Old Heroes heading back because he realizes he needs to get back there as quick as possible to stop this push. But, it seems like they're kind of dependent on the split push strategy. Like, Aatrox, he's not the greatest team fight kind of champion. Yeah, the knockup's amazing, but they're relying on the split push strategy to win, and that's what they kind of did with the Ray last game to get him so fed on her to kind of just 3.
So this is where it gets dangerous. Pink ward taken out. They do have a couple of deeper wards by the Wraith camp, though, so they've seen that Abdu is actually coming through. And this may force them to actually at least go and check that the Baron's not being started. Actually, they should be aware now since Smurf and Tauren have shown themselves on the top side of the map. So Vision really is in favor, certainly around that big objective for DWS. However, they're going to start to lose that on their own now as Damonko and Fleedic do decide to go in there. And that will be cleared out. So a bit of a stalemate now in this match.
See, this is where Scrynorps really come in to help out quite a bit. I mean, I'm surprised Easy hasn't switched over to it just yet. Getting that vision into a bush to be able to see where they are, it gives you the advantage of not being bursted down or losing a man right off the bat of things. And it looks like they will be able to clear up this pink ward here. Nice little bit of poke coming from Fonko as well onto Smurf. But again, we're seeing the top laners go down bottom and just kind of push against each other. And both teams being really hesitant. I mean, look at the items as well. There's not like a big power spike coming in for anyone right now. You have Tauren, who's still pretty far away from his blade. I think about 500-600 gold still. Then you have Easy, who doesn't even have really the workings of anything just yet. Just towards a, I believe, going to be a Bloodthirster. So it's like, for the next 5 minutes, this is going to be as strong as PID is going to be, and even DWS, and yet they're not even trying to fight. They're just waiting for that mistake from some team.
Well, the longer that you let it go, the more gold that they're going to amass just by letting these waves push against them and soaking up all the gold that comes from them. However, we do see a bit of a move towards the Baron. There's that ward in the back, so that'll get cleared out. Fonko actually just aggroing Baron. Does that mean they're going to start it? No. Set up a death brush.
Thing is, I remember Crepo talking about this a long time ago. I think it even was at Intel Extreme Masters Cologne last year. The fact of, you know, they have a deep ward down here towards Wraith, to the Wraith camp. They have a ward towards the back side of red, but they don't have any wards towards the top side of red to really spot them just kind of strolling in or walking through. Why not just push in as 4, you know, pick up a Scrying Orb, because you should have that now, and just push and get some deep wards down, clear out the vision, and then you really let that threat of Baron being done kind of build up in the stomachs of Dolphins. And either way, they're still just committing to farming away. They're not trying to make a move in either direction. I don't know. I don't really like this kind of play style, but it's kind of something that teams fall into when they're not really fully confident. Because as we can see, like, we have the full vision of the map. We know exactly what's going on. We know it's about a 3,000 gold lead here. But when you're playing, it's obviously a lot different. Things go a lot quicker. And the hook coming on a Smurf, you're actually going to be able to burst him down completely. And that's the catch they might have been looking for.
I think so. I mean, you've taken away the tidal wave. You've got rid of a possible exhaust. The only exhaust that they have. There's a flash into hook onto Abdu, who was actually moving there through the air because of his ultimate. And they're going to pick off another 2. Now it leaves just Tauren and Varessa. They could do Baron here. Or, to be honest, they could just go straight through and push down an inhibitor. What they're going to do, though, is go for Baron. Fomco's going to sit off at the back. Will act somewhat as a human warden. Even if, and that's the other thing, if Aatrox wanted to get involved, he could because he's got TP, but he's got nowhere to actually TP into.
Right.
And this is going to be the Baron going down for PID. Now they've got a real struggle on their hands trying to hold these turrets against Jace.
And that flash cocoon coming out of Fleet to kind of just follow up with Demonk once the hook landed onto Abdu as he was ulting away was fantastic. And, you know, one thing we haven't even mentioned that we should probably, you know, point out is the fact that, you know, old heroes, he can't join a fight like Varessa can. Obviously, you have teleport on both of them, but the fact of having a Nocturne ultimate will stop him from getting there for a good, was it like 4 or 5 seconds that his ultimate darkness lasts for. So obviously gives him a little bit of advantage there, but if you get hooked in, if you get caught out just like that, you're going to end up losing quite a bit here. So 15-8, 37 minutes in, and we're getting close to about a 10k gold lead here. And in terms of items, we're starting to see, you know, some things coming in. The Bloodthirst not picked up for Graves. Let's see, Spectral's Cow picked up for Elise. But that's just about it here so far.
We'll see Azonia's at some point being claimed by Abdu. And you kind of need it. We saw it after that hook landed. Like, that's where you need your Zonias to stop you just being instantly blown up. Being unable to take part in any of the following action that comes through. There's going to be another dragon here as well for Pandas. We'll see then. Dragon does go down, so that brings them ever closing in on a 10,000 gold lead. The Wave's not exactly in the best shape at the moment, though. They kind of evened out at the halfway point. They need to get those pushing in their direction.
That's because they've been spending all their time around Baron, I think, for the majority of this, except the rest of down at the bottom. They push him. It looks like they will finally make their move on the bottom side. Remember, it comes back to this kind of poke comp now with this Jace here, who is honestly very strong. I mean, that BF Sword's kind of been sitting there for a little bit. It could go into, or should go into a Bloodthirster soon. But he's also pretty tanky. He has a Banshee's Veil, so he can't be caught up by a Charm. So he's allowed to push up, be a little bit more aggressive here. But let's see, you have Old pushing middle with Resta there to stop him. And the rest of the team just kind of pushing straight into this turret, down about half HP here. Is the hook going to land on Tauren? Not going to commit for it, though. But still, you can see the damage they've already done here. And with the Baron region coming in, it's only a matter of time here before this turret does fall.
You'd expect so. Let's see if they actually commit to it, though. Trying to blow people up. And Lasagna can basically phase tank those shock blasts through the acceleration gate, which have been the problem with his spell shield. Negate all of that. However, if it lands on Corki like that, it's a different matter. It looks like they might try and go back in there. We saw the charm coming out. Abdu got no ultimate here, and they've finally broken through. Gonna take out the first inhibitor turret. The inhibitor won't be saved here either. And I imagine they'll back straight off from this one. They will indeed, taking the first inhib of the game.
All right, so that's a waiting game for them. Are they going to push topside, take down a free turret? Are they going to push middle here? The hook going to land onto Aatrox. Obviously has the ability to get away. The Cocoon lands as well, and they almost eat right through his passive right away as Demonko gets very low on HP. They will proc his passive. Nocturne, why are you going in so deep? He's going to be almost taken down just from that to begin with. And you're going to see Ari going right back in. Aatrox join the party one more time. He's getting exhausted up, being forced to flash away. He will get healed up and survive. But still a 1-for-0 trade here. Really bad miscommunication, I think, on the side of DWS right there with Lasagna. He almost got bursted down with that ultimate coming in.
Oh, Bubble actually catching Jace, but they're going back in on this one. They've not got the damage. Fomco just turns it around. They nearly took easy. They nearly got Fomco, but nearly's not worth anything at this stage. Actually, teleport was used there by Old Hero to get himself in there as well. So they've actually got all 5 men here knocking on the Nexus turrets. Mid lane is down. AD carries down. That's basically all the damage that they've got. He's gone at this stage. What can they do? Bubble lands. Aatrox going to dive in there. Who is it? Varessa went down first of all. Then they lost out on Lasagna. And with those 2 down, 4 men now out of it. That means that they will be pushing through. Pandas in Dispandas, picking up game number 2. And we're going to go into a 3rd and final tiebreaker game to decide who actually will go through into tonight's grand final to play against Moscow 5, who already beat Virtus.pro earlier on today.
It feels like we've had like 3 best-of-3s already today, but we've only gone through 2 games.
Had 2 games, I know. Oh. That was the whole slight delay in between games 1 and 2. But again, we see, you know, a complete flip really of what we saw in game number 1. There was that slightly rocky time where they managed to almost ace them, or did they ace them?
They
or
did.
Was it just 4? They did ace them, then get themselves a Baron as well. But just to kind of compare things to game number 1, Jace, that game did 35,000 damage, which I believe is about 10,000 damage more than what Varessa did last game when he completely carried him on Aurelion. That's why you ban Jace. Like, Jace right now is so ridiculously strong. Yeah, okay, if you start to fall behind a little bit and you don't get the items in there, but if you have a decent laning phase, you can always hammer people away pretty much every single time, run through your acceleration gate. If you can survive the lane phase, do well there, and then pick up a couple of kills, your poke is just so ridiculously strong. They banned Jace game number 1, and then they didn't ban him game number 2, where it could have been first picked away from them. Don't 100% get that idea.
Yeah, and they gave him, what, Maokai again as well? They kind of gave him like 2 really comfortable champions. And, you know, well, the funny thing is, you mentioned, you know, Fomco on Jace, like he had a great game, but it wasn't necessarily him that kind of caused it. It was Fleed in the beginning. He applied a lot of pressure. He forced some flashes out of Ari, even got a couple of kills, really got him rolling. Not to mention Easy, we should mention him, 10-2 and 4 at the end of that game.
Yeah.
He had, well, he was pretty much full damage, except he had a Doran's Blade at the end, but he still lead his team in gold, lead his team, or not in CS, but still in just a fantastic game by them overall. But now into game number 3, are we going to see Jace, Maokai, Narbands again out of a Dolphins this time?
Probably moving over onto the blue side again. They might just change things and go with what worked for them in game number 1. Certainly they see that Jace, definitely not an option, I think, to go through. Unless you're going to first pick him. Whether Fomco is going to bring that out. Sorry, not Fomco. Whether Abdu is going to bring that out in game number 3 and they leave it open. I guess we'll have to find out. But, guys, we are going to be taking a quick break, of course, while we get ourselves ready to get into the 3rd and final match of this semi-final to see who will be moving on to play Moscow 5. So don't go anywhere.